welcome,
Woo-hoo.
Ronnie. Thanks for waking up in the middle of the night to join us.
Yeah, it's almost 2:30 now. I can't remember the last time I was up this late. It was
Probably the last time you did coffee with ShineOn. It was probably right after you hit that big "You're my favorite dough" or whatever it was. That one, because you scaled that up to, I mean, very quickly, well over what 500, 700,000, something like that during Q4.
yeah, 732,000 in 18 days. So, and this is a bit of inspiration for everyone in here as well. So that one thing I've always focused on through Q4 is never mentioning Christmas as a holiday, and that's and always focused on the husband to wife angle, because Valentine's Day is right after that hump, and you want to be able to carry the winners through. So that winner only came through on November 30th, and I had two others on those a couple of days either side come through at the same sort of time. So if you're still looking for your winner now and you're like, it's too late, I can't find it, there's still time, and that's the beauty with it, So yeah,
No, and that's something I see a lot. So I do website reviews, and yesterday I was doing one, and they'd created Christmas products, and the background, the message card was, like reindeers and snowflakes and all of that, and I was like, this is great, but it dies. This is dead for 11 months of the year. You can't sell this product. But the message has nothing to do with Christmas. So I would look to make, even if it's just a red background with white text on it, that works for Valentine's Day, because the best thing you can do is set yourself up for using the Q4 momentum to build the data and the algorithms that you can sell that product all year long. Being too Christmas specific sometimes. Now, there are certain products that are Christmas style products, right? There's blankets and shirts and things like that will be Christmas style. But with the jewelry stuff, I agree with you. It's always smart to make it generic enough that you can sell it beyond Christmas and for Valentine's Day, that you can quickly change your ad text around and make it a Valentine's Day product and run it. And like you said, you did 700,000 in 18 days. We have Andy. I think he found his winner like November 8th, or no, December 8th, right? And he did like 300,000 before the cutoff, right? Like November 30th is late. Like December 8th, like there's still plenty of time where you can find a winner and scale it really quickly, because it is Q4. You're not going to scale like this in June, right? But in December, this is that time where you can hit a winner and you can scale big. I've got one merchant right now that he's up 300% week over week right now, because he hit a winner, and that's how fast it scales. He goes from a couple sales to a couple hundred sales in a matter of like 3 days. And this is that time of year, and that's what's so fun. But that's why we have you here, is because you're going to talk to us about how you go about the process of finding a winner, a viral style product. I shouldn't even say product. I guess I should say design that can work on, depend whatever product it is that you want to sell.
Spot on. Absolutely.
Too many screens.
So Jalandra said it best, and it's a common theme that I hear everywhere, and especially from a lot of newcomers to print on demand, but also it happens with the veterans as well. So we need to start, when we're looking for our viral winners, we need focus, and it's not just focus. It's not a wafty term that you're going to use across. We're just focused on print on demand. We have to get specific about what that focus looks like. So I've broken it down here where we've got platform focus, so whether or not you're selling on Etsy or Amazon, or whether or not you're on Shopify running paid marketing. And the reason for that is particularly when we're short on time, when we've got like a 9 to 5, or, we're running around after kids and whatnot, we really need to streamline the efficiency with our business, because the more that we know what we're doing and when we're going to do it, the faster we can test and the faster we get that data back. And at the end of the day, the data is what we need in order to be able to create phrases and respond to what is actually connecting with our niches when we are advertising. So when we're on one of these platforms, you can use Etsy as part of your process so long as you've been doing it for a while, because it's not, once you've got your profile set up over there, it's quite simple to easily publish a product on Etsy when you're on Shopify. But you want to be spending your time on Shopify, creating those designs, doing that research, and launching those ads. So with the product selection on Shopify, this is the next focus. So a lot of people tend to go between, they could be trying to sell love knots and alluring beauties and shirts and blankets and all sorts, trying to find that winner. But where you're going to find your success is by choosing one product. And if you're choosing message card jewelry, choosing one pendant, because again, that removes all the shiny object syndrome first and foremost. You commit to yourself. You know exactly what you're doing. Like when you sit down, when you're scrolling on your phone, you're looking for those ideas and inspirations. You know exactly what you're looking for. Whereas if you start spreading yourself thin, you need to have consistency with what you're doing. So you can't be as consistent if you've got 5 different products you're trying to create, designs for, and expect to hit 5 launches on each of those products each week. It's very difficult to manage, and it ends up being all over the place. Whereas if you put all that attention into just that one product, instead of doing 25 designs, you could potentially have 50, 60, 70 plus, because you've saved so much time in that extra, flicking between even product templates in terms of your design, your design templates. So there's a lot of efficiency that's created just by that singular focus. And the reason why it's so important is evident in the numbers I've done. So when I've done multiple millions of dollars worth of apparel, it's because I focused on black t-shirts or black hoodies, depending on the time of the year. When I've done millions of dollars worth of jewelry, it's because I've focused on one pendant type, on one type of product. When I've done hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of metal art or sneakers and stuff like that, it's because I'm focused. And it's about just building that momentum, because when you are running the ads, what you'll notice is you're also helping to optimize your ad accounts and whatnot as well. But in that, you're starting to get the data back. It's optimizing that account, so it's getting better and better at finding where your customers are going to come from. But the data that's coming back, you're going to see that, okay, this one got a lot more clicks. This one started getting ads to carts, and there was a couple of sales in there, but it's not quite hitting yet. And to be able to track that as you're going through, it's so much easier when you know the product that you're focused on is that same thing. And then when you do have those trickling sales, to go back and then reiterate on that and create new designs and variations to run again, to zero in on that winning design, it's a game changer. And one of my favorite quotes on that is, a man who chases 2 rabbits catches neither. And it's very pertinent to what we're doing here. So those numbers on the right-hand side there, that was from that piece through $732,000 in 18 days. And that was to my smoking hot dough. I'm not the guy. No. I've chased a lot of tail and seen some fine racks in my time, but yours are the best by far. I love you. And that's what it was. There's a picture of 2 mating deer on the product. Actually, I think I've got it on the slides on here somewhere. But can we flip to that next slide, please?
Well, yeah, I wanted to quickly just talk about how, like what you're saying is there's limited time in Q4 to catch a winner. And if you're trying to do 6 things, we kind of use a phrase here at ShineOn of like, we can do a lot of things okay, or you can do one thing really good, right? And so when we talk about how we utilize, employees or how we're doing our time, like, we don't need people that can do a gazillion things. We need people that can do one thing really well. Like, that's being efficient. That's a good use of someone's time. And it's the same concept here. If you're trying to sell blankets and you're trying to sell jewelry and you're trying to sell t-shirts and you're trying to sell pillows all at the same time, you're not spending enough time in one place to be effective, right? And if you can choose to pick one, you're probably going to be way more effective in finding that winner. And it's understanding that you have that limit, but once you have that time limit, right? And if you use your time effectively, you're more likely to hit the winner. It's like, if you're digging for diamonds, you dig 10 really shallow holes, you're probably not going to find anything. But if you dig one really deep hole, you might reach something. So anyway, I can come up with lots more metaphors, but let's go ahead and jump to the next slide here.
That diamond one's a good idea. So why the focus is important. So as I was saying, it reduces that decision fatigue. So one of the ones that, and it's all these questions that run through your head. Like you're seeing people post that they're crushing it on metal art or blankets or journals or whatever it is. And it's like, oh, I've just got to try that, when you are trying to focus on something. So, when ShineOn releases a new product, so many of these products are freaking amazing that you're just like, I need to try that. And that is taking you further from your goals in that moment. You need to, so particularly as you do progress through Q4, having a product focus and committing to it, despite what you see go on around you, is how you're going to find that success. People will crush on any number of different products that are in that catalog. And that's what's amazing with it. But the ones that do are the ones that focus. So whilst it does look nice to have a store full of all these different products, just simplifying that whole thing. And the other thing is like you don't need a whole lot of products in your store. So even if you haven't started yet, as soon as you should be batch creating. So doing, finding 5 different ideas for the product that you've chosen, launching 5 at a time, and then running those 5 ads. So that quickly answers that first one. Do I need to have a certain number of products on my store when I'm first starting? No, you don't. Effectively starting with those 5, what happens with print on demand is when you're advertising, when people click through to your website, they have connected with what you've created. And 99 times out of 100, that's the product they're going to end up buying if they buy it. They don't do a lot of browsing around when it's the phrase-based type product. So as I was saying before, the improving of testing efficiency, you are needing that data. And when we do invest in advertising, we are looking to not just throw money at the wall and see if this product works. We need to see what's happening in our ads manager and respond to that data. And that is whether or not you're using my bottle rocket testing method for validating whether or not you've got a candidate to take into the further investing, where you're spending $40 to $80 on a test. When you're in that's giving you data. Okay, so this message, because with that, what you're aiming to do is get less than 5-cent engagements. And once you've got that, you're like, right, well, this kind of message style is starting to connect. And I've got a good example that I'll show you in a slide that's upcoming about how through the testing process, I was able to zero in on that. And it's not once, it's many Q4s, many Valentine's Days and other holidays that it's this testing process to be able to find that data you need to be able to respond to. So don't think you've been wasting money on ads. If you feel like you're not profitable with your ads, you need that strategy of making sure that you are reflecting on the data that you're getting back, because at that point, it is 1,000% an investment that will pay huge dividends when you consistently do that and implement and respond to what that data is telling you. So, and again, with that focus, the efficiency of when you're researching for products, you're much clearer in what you need to do. You've got a bunch of different pages and whether it's like profiles on Facebook or websites or whatnot that you're going to use for inspiration. You know exactly, like if you've got 15 minutes at lunch, you sit down and you're on your phone, you're looking for message card jewelry for blah, for Y, and then taking that into your niches and all that kind of stuff. And again, that's another area of focus, is choosing your niche. So and your niche angles and that kind of thing. So is that making sense to you, John? The niching and the research process and responding to data?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something that we tell a lot of newbies, right? Like there's understanding the focus and understanding of the difference between direct response marketing and brand building. And there's a bit of a balance between the two that you have to strike, right? No one wants to go to a store and like the homepage doesn't exist, or it looks like, like no one's ever been there, and like there's no navigation, or like you need to build a store that actually looks somewhat decent, just for like a trustworthy type of case. But there's nothing wrong with having a bunch of love knots in there, right? And because the way direct response ultimately is going to work is people are going to hit your ad and go to that product, and they're going to buy or they're going to leave, right? And that's generally how it works. And yes, there are people that, as you get bigger, and if you look at our merchants that are doing, 7 figures plus a year, they've built out storefronts and they're running Google-based ads, and they've got people that they see their ads and they're going to Google and searching their domain, they're hitting their domain, and they're buying in other ways, right? But that's because they've done the work to build a brand, but that's not how they start. You don't start by building a brand and then organically finding people. You start by driving traffic to a single product and making sales. And the downstream effect is it creates a brand. And that's where you need to go in and spend more time, build out your store, make sure it's functioning properly, make sure there's you got nice banners and all that, because you're doing email marketing to sell secondary sales. Those are things you're doing downstream. It's not where you start. If you're starting, no. You go there, you create products, and you run. You got to learn, right? We tell everybody, like Facebook, if let's say that's where you're choosing to advertise, it's an algorithm. An algorithm is only as good as the data it's been supplied, and you are going to pay to give it data, right? You are going to learn, and that's what testing is. And you'll get sales, and the hope is you break even on your testing. But once you hit a winner, it pays for all the testing that you've done. But you have to train the algorithm. And that's another reason why it's difficult if you're trying to sell 10 different niches, because you're providing Facebook with all this contradictory data, because you got grandma buying, and then you got a husband buying, and you got a kid buying, but they're all buying different things. Facebook's not really sure what's going on. They're not sure who your audience is. So it's important, though. The more you can be extremely targeted in your learning, the better Facebook's probably going to treat you as it learns from that data.
Without doubt, yeah. And that's an important caveat on that is like, yes, you don't need a lot of products in your store when you're first starting, but you do need a store that does look professional, without a doubt. Everything does need to work. So, but as you're saying, the thing is, and this is why, a question that I keep seeing popping up recently is, how do you think Temu is going to affect print on demand? And the beauty with print on demand is, and particularly with the gifting type stuff, is we can stay ahead of that curve. And it's never been about the race to the bottom with pricing with print on demand, because what we're doing with print on demand is creating products that deeply connect emotionally with people. And when you do that, it cuts through pricing, it cuts through the banner blindness. You've been able to connect with people in a way that they've just not felt before. And at that point, everything else becomes secondary. And this is an important note for your designs as well, and why, particularly with Facebook, simple sells is because the first thing that we need people to know or do when they see these products is to read the messages that we're putting on them. Because as it is with social media or anything that we're doing online, when we're trying to capture attention, is we need that first line to be the strongest hook possible to draw people in and want to continue to read through that message to the point that they go, oh my God, this is amazing. It doesn't matter if it's a love knot or a alluring beauty or a blanket. The fact that you've created that message and it's deeply connected with them brings them to your site and ultimately makes them buy. So,
I think, it's it's important to say, like, there's a difference between selling emotionally driven and like drop shipping a off the shelf product. The race to
1,000%.
the bottom is on selling a heated blanket, right? Yeah, it's a heated blanket. So yeah, if I can get a cheaper heated blanket somewhere, I'm going to do it. But when you add this emotional factor into it, that's what takes the product and allows you to sell it. Yeah, you could. People are going to try and sell a necklace for $20. With that emotional message, that's why you can sell it for $60 or $80 because it is doing something different. And that's, Michael's saying, if they cry, they buy, right? It's that emotional phrase that provides that value that a lot of other products don't provide. I mean, you can do it with a lot, but that's where jewelry, I think, kind of stands out as being able to be such a high margin product is just because of those emotional ties.
For sure. And the fact that jewelry has sold so incredibly well for decades as a gift. And there's one other thing that, whether it's birthdays, anniversaries, Christmas, whatever, something else that everyone always gets is a gift card, typically, a message card that goes along with it. So teaming them up together, it was pure genius and remains pure genius of a product. The message with jewelry, it is fantastic. So to choose a viral winning design, first and foremost, you want to make sure that you are focused on something that has plenty of profit in it. So something that's starting at least at that $35 profit per sale, ideally. But even at that point, you want to be doing whatever you can to increasing that average order value. So the products that are in the ShineOn catalog that I highly recommend is the message card jewelry, believe it or not. The blankets are fantastic. Those woven blankets, they're a trending type of product right now. And there's so much real estate in terms of what you can put on them. And with message card jewelry, you're quite limited in terms of the amount of wordage that you can put on it, particularly if you're using other personalization on it. With blankets, you can have locations, maps, you can have photos, all sorts with that message card, which amplifies the emotion that you can bring out on your actual design. So they're really cool products, and being that they're that woven heirloom type style, it is a winner for sure. And I've seen some of those selling for like the profits on them are upwards over $100. It's insane.
Well, I'm excited about those blankets because I think we're trying not to do any major changes this year, but early January, I think we'll have 2 new sizes of those blankets. So a smaller version that sells at like that $60 to $80 mark, and a bigger one that sells at that $150 to $180 mark. So it's just even more ways to find profits because those sell really well. And in some of the craziest niches, I had to say, like jewelry, the niches are pretty consistent. Some of the niches that I've seen of the blankets, I literally have had to go and Google what I'm looking at because I don't even know what it is. And they're selling, 30 a day of these blankets. They're making a couple $100, and I have no idea what it's about. And they're just in these little, very niche down specific areas, but they sell. So I think it's I love the blankets. I think the graphic jewelry, for those of you who don't know, we just lowered the prices on that graphic jewelry significantly. I mean, like $7 cheaper than it was. I want to say like the circle and the dog tag are like $9 right now. For the silver versions. Like I think they were, a month ago, 2 months ago, they were at like $16. Like we made very drastic pricing to those, but we've had some very big winners in those graphic ones. So I highly recommend people play with the graphic. Have you ever had a winner in the graphic jewelry with us?
Oh yeah. So we started with them.
I do remember your niche you had before the redneck niche. I don't know if that's a niche.
Yeah, the ones that stand out. So bikers, certainly. Like we had quite a few different biker ones. First
Yep.
responders, we're good with that.
Yep.
Military, there were
Mm-hmm.
military ones in there. Can't think of any
Yeah, and I
others, but there
think
would have
we've
been.
had.
Yeah.
I'll say I always tell people like the new dad market with those dog tags sells so well. It's like the perfect gift for new or soon to be dads. They sell so well. I mean, even just putting a picture of a dad and a daughter on it, like that type of stuff works really, really well. But also, just there's so many phrases out there that work well with that. So, no, I think you've hit it here with these products. I mean, I think the acrylic also
Oh, yeah,
is
yeah.
a product that with the right niche you can get not quite as high margins. It's still good margins, probably more in the $25 to $30 profit per sale, but still pretty good. And I'm excited about some of the products that we have for the future, because I think I have one coming, which I can't talk about, but you'll really like it, that will have even higher than all three of these. So I'm excited about it, but I'm
Wow,
not going to tell you because
love it.
Tammy will get really mad at me if I tell you.
Yeah. Come on, Timmy, you sound like a bit of a killjoy. What's going on? You're gatekeeping everything. So there was one other thing I wanted to say on these pieces of jewelry, but it's just wafted off. What happened? It was important too, damn it. What was it? I don't know. It'll come back to me. I'll get it in a couple of slides.
All right, next slide.
Yeah, next slide, please. And so this is one of the most crucial things. So when we get stuck in this testing and responding to data, what we don't often realize is that we're actually creating products for people, and we really need to empathize with the people who are buying our products. We're creating a moment, and what I find I always do is put myself in three seats, really. So it's the person when they're actually buying it to give as a gift, the person when they're giving it as a gift, so that the moment they are giving it to someone, and what the recipient feels when they get it. You need to capture that emotion. So it's not just about slapping words together, like seeing what a phrase over here, a phrase over there, and blending them. It's about really, like, when you are writing these messages, like I said, hooking them in initially, but keeping that momentum going, that feeling and that sentiment going throughout that message, so that they come through and do buy. But the only way we do that is by allowing ourselves to sit and thinking of what the dynamic is between the people. Firstly, the one who's buying it to give as a gift, and who they're giving it to. So, a lot of your relationships, you'll have certain nuances with what you do in those relationships. So I like playing around, like teasing my wife and having fun with her. She doesn't much like it, but I know that dynamic is evident in a lot of other relationships as well. So when I create products, I'm always being a bit more cheeky in what it is that I'm creating, because I'm not telling her like sappy love messages. I don't always write sappy love messages. When I do give her a card, it's more having fun. It's still sharing love and sentiment and whatnot, but the way I usually do it, I still blend in the heartfelt stuff as well, but it's typically humor based. And I mentioned a comment there before. Someone said that they'd heard that humor doesn't sell on jewelry, and I've always had a habit of questioning, going, like, even back at school, like the teachers hated me for it, but I would always, but why is that? Why is that a thing? Like I reckon it, like for jewelry particularly, I was like, I think humor would sell. And the thing is, the way I zeroed in, or we zeroed in on that particular phrase, was we were seeing that we were getting sales to that hunting niche. We were pushing 50 to 100 sales a day, and we're like, it's just not scaling. Like, it's not connecting like we think it should. And I was like, there's so much innuendo in this niche. And I think these guys, the hunters, would have a similar dynamic. And again, like I'm making assumptions here, but in this case, I was spot on. I was like, these guys, they're just guys. They're out there. They drink with their buddies. They have fun. They love their partners. They probably tease them like I do. How about we create something that pulls on that innuendo that allows these guys to express their love for their partner with cheek? And that's effectively that message that we're able to bring together, and the design sort of just the colors that are used on it connected with that niche as well, because while it's the message that sells, the design, it's the subconscious or the subtle cues that make people stop and actually read that design. So when I talk about niching, I go one step further than what most people do. So a lot of people will just try husband to wife or grandmother to granddaughter. I go that next layer down into the big niches where there's an interest, hobby, or profession that's associated with that, and that's where I've found the majority of my success, because you cut away that extra layer where you're trying to appeal to a lot more people and appealing to more specific people, and in that vein, you're able to use much better colors and images that resonate and stop that scroll. And that's what we ultimately need people to do, to be able to give ourselves a chance for them to read that message. So, and in order to do that, once we've got those elements, we need to be testing a lot of design. So that smoking hot dough piece for the hunters, that was like, I think it was weirdly, it was either 0069 or 0068. That's how many tests I'd done to find that. So 68 or 69 different tests, variations of different designs that I had personally, like my partner at the time, he had done his own batch of launches as well. So, and we teamed up and we'd just go through them, be ruthless with the cutting and scaling. But the ultimate thing that you need to remember is that you are creating products for real people. They are the reason that you'll be able to make a lot of money when these products connect. So being able to put yourself in that situation in that moment, and it was actually from I love watching real estate on YouTube, and in America they always talk about these moments, and I was like, moments, like you get it like when they enter the foyer or something, and it's just a moment. I was like, it's actually what print on demand is doing. No matter what the product is, whether it's a t-shirt or a piece of jewelry or a blanket, you're creating a moment for someone, whether it's for someone to share a statement about themselves or a moment between two people. And that's what I love about print on demand too, and particularly jewelry, is it is such good energy you're putting out there in the world. You are creating the ability for two people to for that moment, be closer in their relationships, which I think is really, really cool. So, yeah.
Like, I want to take it a step further with this, because this is something that I tell a lot of people that they want to get into print on demand. You might not be a redneck, right? But there's like a guy who's a redneck, and he's like, I want to get into print on demand. I go, it's great, but like, you can be involved in that. Like I sell into a niche that I really enjoy, right? Like I sell into the golf niche. I like playing golf. But part of that, why it works for me, is I understand golfers. I know what golfers want. I know what they joke about. Like, but at the same time, a lot of the stuff I sell, I would never wear personally. But I know the market and who I'm selling to. And I know that, like, I'm not the average. The average golfer is like a kind of overweight, not very good at sports, likes to go out and just drink a lot of beer. I'm more of a competitive golfer. But that overweight golfer, I know who they are, and I create the product for them. I'm not creating it for me, right? And so when you look at that hunting niche, you realize I need to get in the mindset of the guy who's going to buy this, and he thinks this is funny, and that's going to make him want to buy it, right? He doesn't want to read sappy love stuff. He goes, oh, it's got two deers doing it. Oh, my smoking hot. Oh, he's just cracking up. He's going to share it with his buddies, right? Like that's the type of thing. You're not creating products for yourself. You're creating products for your audience. So you need to understand your audience. You need to understand the words they use. You need to understand their humor. You need to understand their sentiment. It's the same thing with geographic locations, right? If you're selling something to your mom in America, you use mom, but if you're going to go to England, you have to use mum, right? Like there's different terminology used in different areas, and in Australia, who knows what you guys use?
It's British English.
British English,
But you
okay.
go, like, even to further illustrate that point too, John, is you don't need to be interested in the niches that you're selling into.
No.
For instance, when I first started selling with ShineOn, it was 3D cast jewelry.
Yep.
And there was a piece, I sold 5,000 units of it, and it was to people that loved sewing. But when I was running those ads, I still remember thinking I would, if I was a sewer, a seamstress, or whatever you call them, a tailor, I would love this product. This is so good. You know, I get excited about what it is that I'm creating for them. The amount of different niches I've been in that I've got no interest in: roller derby, crocheting, knitting, all the first responder stuff. Like, I've got no idea about that really. I mean, domain experience helps so much, without a doubt. Like, I love motorcycles and I love hunting. Well, I appreciate hunting and I appreciate motorcycles. I don't do either of them, but because I have got a level of interest in that, it allows that more enjoyment, I guess. And it takes you from just having that surface level knowledge of, oh yeah, bikes have two wheels, to being a bit deeper to, oh, that's an FXDR or a road glide or something a little bit more specific about.
They don't call it their motorcycle, right? They might call it a hog, or they might call it a Harley. Like, certain people are going to buy something that says Harley on it, and there's a huge group of people that will not buy it because it says Harley on it, that's right? You have to understand that part of that niche. But like you said, you can sell husband to wife, but sometimes it's easier to get the experience if you're on a new account, you're new, to niche further down and find one of these hobby, occupation type of niches. Like I said, like, I don't just sell sportswear. I sell golf, because like that's a niche that I can get into. I could sell a t-shirt to anybody, but like it helps to be in this smaller niche. It's the same thing with husband to wife in the hunting niche. It's easier. Your audience technically is smaller, but that clearly didn't stop you from selling $700,000 worth of that necklace. So like, yes, you don't have 50 million people maybe to sell to, but you still got 10 million people, and that's plenty of people to sell a lot of necklaces.
So it's huge. And I mean, that 732, to be fair, wasn't all that one particular product. Like, there's two biker pieces in that as well. So there's two bikers, one hunting, but they were both core niches that we'd always focused on. So, but in that, you're building momentum, and you're probably going, but Ron, you just said focus. Yes, there is focus, because, you know, there's two of us first and foremost, but we'd also, you know, been doing this a lot longer, had systems and processes in place to allow us to make sure that you've got equal launches going out and you're tracking everything as well. So,
well, and if you're doing it full time and you have the time, and like I said, there's two of you had enough time to focus on 3 areas. One person 2 hours a day probably doesn't have the time to focus on 3 areas. So it's understanding where your limits are and what you can do. And like you said, as you build a system and, you know, you hire VAs to do your customer service, and like the more and more of your business that you automate, the more and more you can, you know, expand and take on more work. And like you said, testing a lot of designs. The first design I came up with did not sell. It took some iteration. The idea was good, right? but it took some tweaking to find the one that people were like, I like that, and they'd buy it. And if you put up one design, you go, it didn't work, this is done, you walk away, you're leaving money on the table. So I think it's always good to
absolutely
to know going in. I mean, and sometimes you need to set a limit. Go, I'm going to test 10, right? Do that. And if 0 of them make a sale, okay, you can walk away. Maybe that idea is not going to work. But you'll probably get a little bit of traction, and you can learn, well, why did this one sell and these other ones didn't? Well, let's iterate on this, and let's make 5 versions of this one, and then go see what we can do. But even be smart about it and test it, right? Well, I'm going to change the color in this one, and I'm going to change the phrase in this one, and I'm going to change the layout in this one, and see which one, see what data you can get. I'm sure that you cover this probably all in your bottle rocket and all that stuff of how you're actually doing the testing and what you're testing and what you're tweaking, because you need to be learning. It's not just do designs, but it's do them in a way in which you understand why, if this one sells and this one doesn't, you can glean some sort of information so you know how to move forward. It's not just blindly throwing designs at a wall.
Yeah, spot on. And if you want to know a bit more about what this process is, I've got a 7-figure blueprint that you can download as well. So if you comment blueprint, we can get that across to you. But that'll give you the full overview of the print-on-demand industry and how focusing in all the different areas allows you to get through to those results much faster. So can we see that next slide, please, John?
Yeah, and I think Brooke has the link. Brooke, can you throw it out there? Everybody don't leave yet. Stay here and hang out. But I believe she's got the link for that, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So
we're not done yet.
Yeah, don't everybody leave. Wait. There's more to cover.
More to come. So how to build inspiration. So everybody says do research, but it's like, okay, what does it actually look like? So throughout your research, you'll be finding ideas, inspiration through your own testing. You'll be making sales. You'll be seeing that there's some things getting added to carts and whatnot, and you'll see phrases that are always out there and always seem to be doing well. So this blending of phrasing isn't just about, a couple of messages together that sound all right, but aren't necessarily what you haven't done the exercise of actually sitting and experiencing what it's going to be like for the person that's going to be purchasing it. So here's an example of 4 different products that came together, and it was probably more like 5 or 6 that came together for me to create the inspiration to test a design that I've got on this next page. But this shirt on the left-hand side, forget knight in shining armor, I'll take a biker in dirty leathers any day. I had this in my archive for years, and I was like, I love that phrase and the way it sets it up. It really forces you to read through what that message is, because like, forget a knight in shining armor. Okay, so why? Like, what am I to remember then? It pulls you into that next part of the phrase. Then on this next one, the life is one sweet ride with you by my side. That product was blended together from that first intro there, that life is one sweet ride. That was a winner in its own right. But the phrase that I used for this inspiration was, I promise to always love and protect you. That was what stood out to me. I will love, protect, and annoy you to the ends of the earth and back, is what I was like, wow, that sounds really good. And that was based on I love you to the moon and back. And then to my daughter, I'm not the dad who always gets it right or knows the right things to say. I was like, that's that's another strong intro to a product. And if we go to the next slide, you'll see what I was able to create from that. And this is what it was. To my soulmate, I'm not the guy that can say the right thing in the most romantic way or be your perfect knight in shining armor, but I'll always be your smoking hot, booty touching best friend who will love, protect, and annoy you to the ends of the earth and back. P.S. I love you. I'll give you the O tonight. And this was crafted by being able to, and this was number 58 that I'd tested to be able to find the phrase that actually worked. Because when you first start writing something like that, it's so clunky. You know, it's like it doesn't flow, it doesn't fit right. Like you just like it's not really there yet. The PS, I love you, I'll give you that O tonight. That was a cheeky way to say, you know, we're going to get up to some mischief later on. And that's what I put on there. That PS really just like tied it all up with a bow. Another one that I had do really well, and the way it came to me was I wasn't at my computer. And this is where it's super important to allow ourselves to step back from it and have time away from devices, whether you go for a walk or whatnot. This instance, I happened to be in my barber's chair where I was listening to the way she was speaking, and there's a thing in Australia called ochre or bogan, which is similar to the redneck, I imagine. They've got a very specific way of speaking. They cut words. They call their partners different names, like Mrs. So at the top of the list there on the right-hand side, you can see funny Mrs. Necklace. And they go, the Mrs. So that was the intro that I put to my smoking hot Mrs. is what I put on there. And I just started crafting this phrase together. I was like, oh, my God, that's so funny. And I came back, I wrote it down, tested it, and I used that, all these different elements. That fat man leaning back there, I'd seen that as a sticker on someone's car. And I was like, I need that on a piece of jewelry because, again, not the people that I imagine that I'm selling to may not be the fittest people. And that pose there was quite funny. So that it's not a juxtaposition. It's like that the absurdity. It's like, why would there be a fat man on a piece of jewelry? Why would there be deer getting after it on a piece of jewelry? It doesn't make sense. So it's sort of like, you know, what comedians do where they take you on a story and all of a sudden the punchline is like completely different. It's the absurdity of what we're creating. So another variation of this, the funny fat man soulmate, was PS, thanks for all the orgasms. It was another way of just tying up that message. And it's just a funny journey that you're taking someone on. And each part of that message resonates, you know. So I'm not the guy that can say the right thing in the most romantic way or be a perfect knight in shining armor. I've thought those things. I'd never know the right thing to bloody say when she's feeling like that, you know. So it's like, okay, so there's people out there that feel the same. Or I imagine there was. But I'll always be smoking hot booty touching. I know booty touching. I know smoking hot. I know best mate. That all those elements have always been products that have sold very well with print on demand. So it's like bringing it all together and creating that moment where it's funny, but it's heartfelt and it really deeply connects. So, and this structure works so well for all sorts of different niches as well. You know, I'm not but I'll always be your smoking hot booty touching linesman who will love booty touching biker. You know, there's so many different elements that you can put in that without over niching it. You can slightly tweak it and put it into different angles and have fun with that. It's a really strong phrase that allows you to do that. You know, so.
Well, I think when you talk about the moments, right? Mm-hmm. Those 3 moments, as the guy buying it, you're laughing at this and you're going, oh, she's going to love this, right? Oh, she's going to, like, you're getting a kick out of it. And then, you know, when he's sitting there waiting for her to open it, he's like giddy, like, oh, this is going to be good.
He's like a kid.
You know, she's like, oh, it's jewelry. And then she opens it and you can imagine her face going, what? And, you know, it's got all of those. It's not your just run of the mill. Oh, it's a necklace. There's these. It's this whole much of a bigger experience, which is why you can probably sell this for $60, $70, $80 versus $20 to $30.
100%, without a doubt. And the thing is, compared to a product that's got more of a heartfelt, sentimental sort of thing with it, that the chance, like, I don't know about everybody that's here, but the amount of times that I reread the messages on cards that I'm given for my birthday or whatnot, I would say is very, very, very close to zero. If not, I'd never read them again. The message that's written from my partner or kids, like, yes, that's read, but the message itself, not really. Whereas when you create a product that's like this, that zigs when everybody zags, they are remembering that experience. The guy remembers when he bought it. The guy remembers when he gave it as a gift, and the person receiving it, or like, she will not forget the way she felt. She thought it was jewelry, but she got the emotion was all over the place. She was so excited that it was jewelry, and then it's funny, and then it's like, actually, that's kind of heartfelt. I love that. Like, he knows me. It's like they remember that moment, and every time she puts on that necklace, then she remembers that moment. So that all comes down to allowing yourself to, I don't know if empathize is the right term for that, but really sit in that message that you're creating for people. Know that you've got to start somewhere, and yes, that's just blending two phrases together and might be a bit clunky, but putting it out there and seeing what that response is. But by knowing that it's a reiterative process, that is how you come up to a phrase that, can go on and do 6-7 figures. It's just, you need to be consistent with what you're doing. And that's why that product focus, platform focus, everything is so important, to allow yourselves to get to a message that deeply connects, that allows you to sell hundreds, of products a day. So that's the importance of that message, and I guess how it wraps it all up. So yeah.
Nope. And I can see one of your other test products on here was Trophy Husband, which I can just imagine as a guy saying, "You're so lucky to have me as your trophy husband," type of thing. Which again is just, you're giving her jewelry, and then she's getting this message, and it's so out of left field that it just makes for that extra experience. And so I think you have found the way in which humor works with jewelry. That it's just so unexpected. That's the best part.
1000%. And you can do it with heartfelt and whatnot as well. It just takes you just need to think on what it is that you're trying to capture. What is that emotion? How can you build on what's already been and make it better? So it's and that's the beauty of your part in investigator. Really, you're trying to work out what it is. It's a little puzzle that you got to unravel. It's probably why I like escape rooms.
Yeah. No, this is great. I like that. Do we have another slide?
I'm not sure. I do have them here.
We got your socials here.
Yeah, where to connect with me. So make sure you do that. I would love to speak with you. So I'm probably most active on Insta and TikTok and YouTube, of course. In fact, actually, I am active everywhere.
All right, everybody, have a great day. Thanks, Ronnie.